It seems like you're sharing a story that's both gripping and emotional, detailing the unraveling of a relationship due to some questionable actions by in-laws and the emotional strain placed on the protagonist. The tension and distrust builds throughout the narrative, and we can see the protagonist's growing suspicions regarding his wife's trip with her parents, ultimately leading to a shocking revelation. The storytelling style reflects a mixture of confusion, hurt, and a growing sense of betrayal. The protagonist's feelings shift from disbelief to a cold realization as more truths are revealed. It seems like there's a pivotal moment when the character uncovers the secrets behind the trip and the realization comes crashing down. It's a tough spot, and the careful building of this tension makes the eventual confrontation all the more powerful. Do you have any thoughts on where you'd like the story to go next? Or are you reflecting on this specific part of the narrative? It seems like you're sharing an excerpt from a scene in a story filled with tension and family drama. The characters are dealing with issues of trust, marriage, and the influence of parents in personal relationships. Myra is clearly distressed about her parents' actions, and the protagonist is caught in a whirlwind of emotions, feeling betrayed and frustrated by the situation. Would you like me to help you develop this scene further, or maybe offer suggestions on how to improve or refine it? She was tired of explaining herself. Mira, we've always wanted the best for you. This marriage, it was fast. We didn't get a chance to guide you, her mother said, her voice almost pleading. Mira's head shot up, her voice cracking. You think setting me up with some guy behind my husband's back is guiding me? She looked around the room, waiting to see if she'd direct her anger at me, blaming me for digging this all up and laying it bare, but she didn't. She just stared at her parents as if they were strangers. I didn't sleep with him, Mira said suddenly, her eyes meeting mine. I didn't. I wouldn't do that. Her eyes begged me to believe her, but I didn't say anything. I just nodded once, letting her words linger in the air. Maybe she didn't sleep with him, but she let him in, let them all in. And that, to me, hurt just as much. The room fell into a heavy silence, the tension thick enough to choke on. Clara adjusted her purse. Marshall tapped on his phone. Mira wiped her eyes. I stayed where I was, watching my wife slowly realize she'd been a pawn in their game, and wondering if she'd ever really been mine at all. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen, staring at the coffee pot like it could fix everything. If I just brewed it strong enough, maybe it would help. After that blowout with Mira and her parents, I'd slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to, but because I couldn't stand being in our bed, smelling her shampoo on the pillows. Pretending everything was fine. She'd gone upstairs after Clara and Marshall left, her face red and puffy from crying, and I hadn't followed. I needed space, time to think, time to figure out what came next. The folder was still on the table, its photos peeking out like a bad memory I couldn't shake. I'd shown her the truth, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a punch to the gut that kept on giving. By morning, I had made up my mind. I wasn't letting this fester in the dark anymore. If Clara and Marshall wanted to play their little game, I'd drag it into the light for everyone to see. So I sent out invitations, short, simple texts to Clara, Marshall, Mira, Theo, and a handful of friends and family who'd been at the wedding shoot and the venue. One last memory from the big day, I wrote. Be there at 6. Clara replied quickly with a cheery, Oh, how lovely, we'll be there. Mira responded, hesitant. Is this necessary? I didn't sugarcoat it. Yeah. I wrote, It's time people knew the truth. She didn't argue, just sent a quiet, okay. The rest of the guests confirmed quickly. Leona, Marcus, a few cousins who danced with us under the string lights, and even Theo RSVP'd with a cocky, wouldn't miss it. I smirked at that. Good. Let him walk right into it. That evening, I arrived at the venue early, the same place we'd gotten married with its big open room and wooden beams, the spot where I thought we'd started something real. I set up a projector, hooked it to my laptop, and laid out the evidence Marcus had sent me. Photos, videos, receipts, all of it. The reception table, the one we'd cut the cake on, was still there, so I dragged it to the center, piling the files on top. People started trickling in. Leona first, giving me a nod like she knew something was up. Then Marcus, who clapped me on the shoulder and asked, "You sure about this, man?" I nodded. "Yeah. No more hiding." Clara and Marshall showed up next. Clara in pearls, like she was going to a gala. Marshall in his usual suit, phone all ready in hand. Mira came in behind them, quiet, her eyes darting to me and then away. She looked small, like the weight of it all was crushing her, but I didn't soften, not yet. Then Theo swaggered in, tan and grinning, acting like he owned the place. "Nice spot," he said, winking at Mira. She didn't smile back. I waited until everyone was settled, about 20 people, some curious, some confused. Then I stepped to the front. "Thanks for coming," I said, my voice steady. "Thought we'd take a look back at the wedding and what's happened since." I clicked the projector on. The first slide lit up the wall, Mira and me cutting the cake, smiling, happy. A few oohs rippled through the crowd, but I didn't linger. Next slide, Scottsdale. Mira at the pool with Theo, his arm around her. A murmur swept through the room. I clicked again. Dinner. Theo leaning in close, Clara laughing. Then the beach walk, the drinks, the hotel receipts. With every slide, the whispers grew louder. Eyes darted between Mira, her parents, and me. She sank lower in her chair, her hands covering her face. Clara's smile tightened, but she didn't move. Theo shifted, looking less smug now. Then I played the video. Marcus had caught it from a distance. Clara's voice clear as day. "This marriage is just a face. Theo's the real future." The room went dead silent, like someone had sucked the air out. I let it hang there, the words echoing, then turned the projector off. "That's it," I said, crossing my arms. "That's what they've been up to while I've been here thinking I had a wife." Mira stood up fast, her chair scraping loudly. "I didn't know!" she shouted, her voice breaking. I looked at her, my chest tight. "Maybe not," I said, "but you didn't stop it either." Clara jumped in, her voice sharp. "This is ridiculous. You're making a scene over nothing." Theo nodded, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, man, chill. It's not like we—" "Shut up," I snapped, cutting him off. He blinked, surprised, and sat back down, raising his hands in surrender. The room buzzed. Friends whispered. Cousins shot glares at Clara and Marshall. Leona stood up, arms crossed. "You guys are unbelievable," she said to Mira's parents. "She's married, and you're shopping her around like she's for sale." Marshall finally spoke, his tone calm, his usual mask of indifference in place. "It's not like that. We just gave Theo a chance to meet her." I laughed, cold and hard. "A chance? You gave him a weekend suite and a promise." The truth was out now, raw and ugly. And I stood there watching it sink in, wondering if I'd just burned everything down or set myself free. The projector hummed behind me, the video still fresh in the air. Clara's voice saying, "This marriage is just a face. Theo's the real future." It felt like a bomb had gone off, leaving nothing but stunned faces and wide eyes. Mira was on her feet, her hand shaking. Her voice cracked as she yelled, "I didn't know." I'd heard that line too many times by now, and it didn't hit me the same way anymore. I just looked at her, arms crossed. "Maybe not," I said, "but you didn't stop it either." It sounds like you're describing a pivotal moment in a story where the protagonist is navigating the aftermath of a messy situation involving family, love, and betrayal. The tension is thick as the protagonist comes to terms with the choices made by others, particularly the manipulation by their in-laws and their partner. The protagonist has endured the emotional turmoil of being betrayed by someone they loved and realizing they've been controlled by outside forces. What stood out to me is how, after everything unravels, the protagonist finds a way to reclaim their sense of self. They've gone through pain and disappointment, but through the chaos, they slowly start to realize that letting go of the past is the only way forward. The final scene, where they gather with people who genuinely care for them, marks a kind of catharsis, a new beginning after the emotional storm. It's such a powerful journey from betrayal and heartbreak to acceptance and healing. What do you think is the main takeaway or theme from this?